Oh, you've already recorded.
That's all right.
Okay.
We can edit the recording part.
Cool.
So, I will just do a brief intro, and I'll just go, hey, welcome. Everybody's just heard, how I've introduced you, but if you want to just tell us a little bit more about yourself, that would be great. Something like that. So we'll get ready to go. Hello and welcome to the Big Hearted Podcast. Today, my guest, I should say, on this episode is Catherine. Oh my God, let's just start that all again. Are you Catherine or Cat?
Oh, it doesn't matter. Cat. People go by Cat. I get called Cat. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Here we go again. But
Take two.
Take 11 billion.
Take all of the numbers.
All right. Here we go. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to the Big Hearted Podcast. Today, my guest on this episode is Cat Jackson. So I've known Cat for a little while now personally. She is an educator with Rainbow Bridge Family Daycare. She also lives about 500 metres down the road from me, and she worked within my home for a little while. So I've known Cat quite personably for a while now, and I am just in love with the work that Cat does. She's a qualified teacher, so she was working in childcare before she came into family daycare. So without further ado, I'll let Cat introduce herself to you so that you can get a better understanding of who we're actually talking with today.
Cool. Thank you for that lovely intro, Victoria. So I'm Cat Jackson. I have many hats that I wear. 1, being a mother. 2, being a partner. 3, being a family daycare operator currently. And 4, I'm also involved with a not-for-profit called Gecko Environment Council based on the Gold Coast, which is a company that's a huge advocate for environmental rights and also environmental education. So I'm a busy little bee. Oh, and I'm at uni.
I don't know how you do it. I really don't. Kat's got little children too. So she's super, super busy, but super organised and probably one of the most laid back people that I know, actually. So what I wanted to talk to you about today, Kat, was you've got several passions. One of them being the environment, another one being like sustainability. And it's not just sustainability within the environment. It's about like what I would call personal sustainability. So you have a mad passion for children being out in nature. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do and how you bring that into your services?
Sure. So, I mean, when it comes to sustainability, I'm across all of the pillars. There's the economic, the social, and obviously the environmental, which is where I predominantly, that's the space that I work in. But thinking about social sustainability as well, that's something that's kind of coming to the forefront of my mind at the moment. Just coming back to social skills with kids. This whole pandemic has kind of changed the way I think that children have interacted with each other. There's a huge addiction going on with screens in general, not just children, but adults as well. So, you've got your screens, your phones, your computers, your smartwatch, your, binge watching TV. It's all of them. And it's just kind of become the norm in this isolated, weird kind of funky world that we're in at the moment, that a lot of kids, I think, are missing out on going out and connecting with nature and just having that freedom to have outdoor play. I think it's really sad.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, my children are teenagers and in their 20s now, so the pandemic hit them differently. My son's at uni and he spent so much time in his room doing lectures on his computer, and he would come out completely drained, so brain dead. I know I turned into a bit of a zombie as well there for a while, and it's a different kind of energy and focus that's required.
It is.
And being that it's really flat and, one-dimensional, I think our bodies process all of that really, really differently. And
definitely. and the neurons are not connecting the same way that they do, especially for developing minds. The same kind of, like you said, with the 1D, being out in a 3D world and connecting physically with all of those senses with other people is part of that growing development that's required for a healthy child. And it's lacking. It really is.
Yeah. I totally get that. Like, I really understand, and I'm very concerned for what's to come in the next few years for us as educators, but for teachers as these children start coming into daycare services.
It's already happening, Victoria. We call them COVID babies. These children that have been born during the age of COVID, from whenever it started, 2020, early 2020. So these kids are nearly 2 years old now, and they've grown up in an environment where they're at home and they're, the parents feel they're doing the right thing, keeping them safe, keeping them close, and that's what we've been told that we have to do, but they're not exposed to other people. They're not exposed to other types of humans that aren't in the household. And not only that, when they're out and about, they've got this view of people, which is really having some challenges for the development, I believe.
The mask wearing, I really was very uncomfortable for that within early childhood settings for a number of reasons. One, that children seem to breeze through COVID. The children that have unfortunately succumbed to COVID have had other comorbidities, cancer and things like that, which has played a significant role in how the COVID has affected them. But your general normal healthy child, some of them weren't even displaying symptoms, and yet when they've had a test, they've got antibodies. So they've already had the illness. So for me, it was counterproductive, and I really am concerned because there's so much emotional facial reading that children do and learn as part of how to interact with the world. And when you can only see half of a person's face, you can't see their mouth, you can't see their nose, all you're seeing is their eyes. I really wonder, and I'm by no means qualified to talk about it, but I really think there should be some research done in that field around the impact that that's had on children and what we as educators need to make sure we do for these children moving forward to ensure that they aren't behind the emotional quotient, the emotional intelligence of being able to communicate and connect with people. They're getting it at home, but again, when they're at home and they're not out in the world, they're really not having the opportunity to have that sensory processing.
Sensory, correct. So it's sensory. And, much of what happens on the screen is like a simulation of what the brain should be going through. It's impoverished. It's not real. It's not reality.
And it comes with background music and special lighting, and everyone's perfect and everything's scripted, or it's a cartoon. It's a dog that's talking.
Absolutely.
What is the reality of these children going to be moving forward when they are teenagers and young adults?
Exactly. In saying all of this as well, Victoria, there's certainly a time and place, and technology is super crucial to the way that we operate now in this time. But children really need to have chances to have offline experiences and just let the mind wander, have that curiosity and that boredom as well. Even just boredom is something that's so important for developing minds, because that's where the creativity comes from.
Like what I know, I listened to a podcast the other week about these guys who were talking about ethical use of technology and social media and apps and that sort of thing. And it was so interesting because they were talking about how, people's attention spans, part of being an ethical business, and this is where TikTok has come a long way, because when you look at Instagram, the videos are a minute long. When you're going on to TikTok, they're longer. So what they're saying is the result of all of these short, sharp interactions that people are having, it's reducing people's attention span.
Well, there was another one. I don't think it's here anymore. What was that one? That was one that the videos went for 6 or 7 seconds. I can't remember what that app was called. It's gone now.
not Snapchat.
No,
I don't know. I'm not.
no, it was literally just videos, 6 seconds. Someone listening will know it and they'll remember it. But they were so quick.
Yeah, well,
Me.
these guys were talking about the importance, and part of being an ethical company is that they have to realize that that's the impact that their product is having on their consumers, and that's not a good thing, a short attention span. So when children get out in nature, and you and I have both seen it, they can spend 20 minutes looking at the trunk of a tree.
Easily.
You know, I remember this story of this boy would go outside. Don't even remember who told it to me. Don't even remember where it's from. It's coming to me right now because it's applicable. This boy would go outside and he would stand and look at this tree, and his teachers thought he was strange because this boy would just stand there and stare at this tree for 20 minutes, not moving, not interacting, not doing anything, just staring at this tree. And the teachers were kind of like, what's Jimmy Blow doing over there? Like, that's a bit weird. But he did this for days and days. And what surprised me was it took days for the teachers to go and check in to see what he was actually doing, right? Because he wasn't disturbing anybody. He wasn't interacting with anybody else. He was just doing his own thing. So they left him. So when they finally went over to see what he was doing, they could see there was a colony of ants. So there were these ants that were taking things from the ground up into the tree, depositing them in the tree. The next day when they came back and investigated with him, they were using a different route. He was checking, why are they using a different route? Because there was something stuck in the way, so they had to go around, and then they went up a different way. Like, he had spent days it was like he was watching a telly happening on the tree.
That's
amazing.
Authentic learning experience about how nature works. That's perfect. And that's what we need to see more of.
Yes. But see, he was allowed to have the space because the teachers thought he was doing something weird and didn't interrupt him. They knew something was going on, but they didn't investigate. But when they did, they were involved in it too and engaged in it too. They could understand the process that he was going through. But it also meant that he had this undisturbed time where he was able to go wherever he wanted to go in his brain, do whatever he wanted to, discuss with himself what was happening.
Completely neurons.
And so then he was able to tell the teachers all these things that he was doing there. Wow. So I think we have a real responsibility as educators to ensure that the children in our care have these opportunities to get out and experience things undisturbed.
I agree. And part of being an educator, I think, is about providing that time and that space for them to have that freedom to go out there and just get lost in themselves, get lost in nature, get lost in the environment, because you need to really have that connection to and an understanding and a love for the environment to be able to grow up as an adult and want to be a custodian of the land. If you don't spend any time in nature, what makes you think that you're going to want to, save the planet when you're bigger? You look at all this climate action stuff now. I mean, this is a bit of a juxtaposition when you're saying that technology is really, playing some devastating roles in the youth today. But then you've got these climate action movements as well, which is it's the young people rising up and going, this isn't right, this isn't right. So, we do have an opportunity as educators. We've got these children while they're so young and so just beautiful little sponges to just help guide them and develop that narrative that will help them just have a really honest, authentic connection to the land that they live on. That's our role, I think.
100%. There's some massive bodies of research now that say when educators take the children out of doors, when they go outside and they engage in the natural environment, behaviour management becomes almost obsolete because the children get to move their whole body. They get to really connect into their body.
They're learning how to manage themselves. They're managing themselves when they get provided that opportunity rather than, sit in your chair, sit in a circle on the mat, sit 1.5 meters from your best friend on the floor, you know. They need that. They need that, those risky kind of outdoor exciting things to happen so that they can learn to manage their own behaviors. We shouldn't be
100%.
there like telling them what to do all the time. That's not our role.
No. So what are the sorts of things that you do within your service or with the work that you do with Gecko with children to assist and facilitate this process?
Well, today, funny you should ask, as you would know, living down the road, we just had a mega thunderstorm come through, didn't we? I thought we wouldn't be able to do this because I thought we were going to lose power. Yeah, but
some of that thunder was right over the top of us. It was like, oh, geez.
It was like 2:00 in the afternoon and dark as night. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, it was.
But it was. But it was so cool. And so, you know, it was after the little one's rest time. And so we opened up all the curtains and we just watched. We just looked out the window. We looked at the heavy rain coming. The lightning was insane. You know, there's trees, I think, that might be on fire around here now from some of these lightning strikes. They're that close. And the kids, they weren't scared, you know. So I've got my daughter who's nearly 3, and then I've got some other ones who are under 2 years old. So they're quite young. And often at that age, they get quite scared of thunderstorms, but we just turned it into like a cool, exciting, like, wow, did you hear that? Whoa, that was close. And just watching these flashes and stuff. So it was kind of like a nature's disco sort of thing. It was really cool. That's just today. But there's so many things. I mean, we'll go outside and we'll balance along logs, or we'll be jumping over things, or, you know, looking at the different shapes of leaves, or, you know, we'll get a rug and we'll just lie down and look up at the sky and talk about the clouds or the leaves that are falling, or, you know, there's so many. It's limitless. It really is. It's sometimes you don't have to do anything. You might just give a little bit of a guide, like, we're going to go out and look for a flower, and then, you know, 2 hours later they're still chasing butterflies or whatever it is they want to do. But in saying that, we're really lucky where we have a really nice space here, being in the hinterland on the Gold Coast, that, you know, it's pretty easy to connect with nature here.
Yes,
definitely.
yes, it is. It is. It really is. Yeah, and in saying that too, it's fairly easy to bring nature into your yard as well.
That's so true. Yeah. Plant some seeds, do some gardening, get your hands dirty, you know, bring some sand from the beach, mix it with some water, mix it with mud, you know, dirt. Mud kitchens are the best. I absolutely love mud kitchens and potion making, and, you know, all that creativity and cool, joyous, you know, joyfulness that comes from the children with that, turning you into a frog.
It's amazing. I'm the same, because obviously when I ran my daycare here, I've got the big trees around me, and there's the park down the road we used to walk down. That was a mission, carrying the baby on the front and the toddler that didn't want to walk up the hill on the back, and carting the trolley. It was an exercise, let me tell you, but we had such a great time. There is nothing in that park. There is not a swing, not a slide, not a man-made thing in that park. All of these rolling hills and big rocks. And the kids would find vines to swing on, and, you know, they'd be rolling down the hill.
That's a great thing as well, the vines. You know, how do they know if the vine's going to hold them? They need to, you know, test it. Same with climbing trees. How do they know if they can climb a tree? You know, I know you've got the same rules that I do, that if you can't get yourself up there on your own, you ain't climbing it. I am not going to physically put you up there. And you know that thing about how if the tree branch is skinnier than your arm, then it won't hold you. You know, we need to teach kids these things so that they can go out and be active agents of their own development and their gross motor skills. You know, otherwise they're not going to know. How I climbed so many trees growing up. I grew up in the Northern Territory, and we had a giant mango tree. And I remember me and my sister and my neighbour, who was a couple of years older than us, he would bring over these random things from his parents' house, like an old car seat and just weird stuff. And we would hoist all of this stuff up into the mango tree, and we made this like 3-level tree house, getting bitten by green ants every day. Like, he fell out once, and, you know. But it was so much fun.
It's all that dynamic risk assessment. It's all that risk assessment, and we have to teach the children how to do that.
Yes.
And then once we just set those ground rules, and they can be fairly simple, like 3 anchor points onto a tree at all times if you're climbing, and the rule of thumb, if the branch is as wide as your arm, then it's good to go, because we have to also teach the children to respect. If they're coming along and winging on stuff and they're breaking branches and all the rest of it, that's not okay either.
No.
So it was definitely those opportunities for dynamic risk assessment, and we have to instill this in children right now, because these are skills that they take for the rest of their lives. If they can't determine that feeling when they're in a tree and they get that giddy feeling of, oh dear, I've gone too high, it's better for them to learn it now when they're children than when they're 8 behind the wheel of a car.
Exactly. So, or if they become like a young teenager or older teenager, ideally, who drinks alcohol and makes really silly decisions, there's a lot of that sensibility that's really missing. I mean, even without the alcohol, that's not relevant. That's not what we're talking about. But being able to be accountable and know your limits and trust yourself.
Yes, knowing your limits, and also being able to discern when somebody else is not using their limits well. And being able to say, oh, that's not really safe behavior. And what do I do? We have to teach the children what to do in that scenario.
Absolutely.
Do I go and seek help, or do I try and talk to that person? And always it's about communication. Where does that communication need to be directed? But these are all things that we can be teaching children while we're outside in nature with them. And they are so beneficial for life, like life skills.
Conversation, even the art of conversation.
Yes. And you don't get that when children are hooked into a device.
No.
You really don't. No. You don't
How
get
was school? Good. What did you do? Nothing.
I don't remember.
Don't remember. I didn't learn anything today.
And that's partially because they are, they've had big days and their brains are just starting to go, I'm just going to go to mush right now because I don't have to be on.
I'm going to go home and watch TV.
Yeah. Eat food. And my kids always came home and had to do a poo. Just the first thing they got home, had to do a poo. Yeah. That was it. It was like offloading every single night without fail. We couldn't go far.
Always wants a snack. He always wants a snack. What do you want? A snack. Something yummy. Okay, have an apple. Have a banana. No, I don't want that.
Yummy.
Obviously not that hungry. But yeah, look, with Gecko, the other role that I have with the environmental education, that's been so much fun. So we've created a new program there called Cultivating Curiosity. And that one is about trying to instill, the joy of curiosity. So there's 5 dimensions of curiosity. There's joyous exploration, a need to know, watching something to try and find out why it is doing whatever it's doing. There's social curiosity as well, about getting to know, the people around you. There's accepting the anxiety. That's the type of curiosity as well. When you have a bit of fear about something and learning to know that it's okay to have a bit of fear, and you can find ways to manage that and overcome it and then develop and grow as a person. And then there's my favorite, the thrill-seeking curiosity. That's the one, like jumping on a rope and swinging over a creek or something, is this rope going to hold me? I don't know. It held the other person and they were a little bit bigger than me, so it should be okay. Yeah. So that's a really important one.
It's also important, and I know that some children miss out on that. It used to be inherent in childhood, but now there's this real thing about being safe and this real risk aversion that happens in society, basically. I mean, everything's got softball underneath it now, and and everything's risk managed to within an inch of its life. There's not real opportunity anymore for you to stack it and hurt yourself, get a really valuable lesson around speed.
I have scars on my knees today I still have scars on my knees from like just banging it downhill on a bike in the rain in monsoon season in Darwin, and just bottoming out and
Yep.
and now I know not to ride downhill fast in the rain.
The rain, no. And you don't run into flooded water either. You don't run into in Darwin, you croc, but
we did that. We used to do that as well. We used to ride through this thing, Rapid Creek it was called, and it was a shortcut on the way home, and it was so much fun. It was super risky. We were always okay. Heaps of all the kids were doing it, and when a cyclone would come or something and the waters would rise up, and it was gnarly. It was good fun, good memories.
More fun. Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up here and we used to go rock hopping, after the rains and stuff like that, and chasing the waterfalls and, getting leeches all over us and all that sort of stuff. I don't really see kids doing so much of that anymore,
Not enough.
So
not enough.
Gone are the days of
Another couple of programs that we've got going on at Gecko are rewilding adventures. So they're 3-day programs. Over the school holidays, just going out there. Got the same kids for each 3 days. So you're making new friends, you're developing your social curiosity as you're learning about new friends. You're out there, they're doing things like archery and learning how to, start a fire and going swimming and, all kinds of cool adventures. It's really cool. And doing a school holiday program with someone like Gecko or whoever is in your area as a parent, is a really safe way to give your children the space to be able to go and have these kind of experiences with people who are trained, with people who are experienced, and with people who care. So I think it's really nice that there are people out there providing this. If you're unable to do it yourself, if you live in a complex or you don't know your neighbors, or there's so many reasons, or you've just moved to an area, it's a nice way for your child to get out there and just get dirty, get wet, get leeches on you.
So, leeches I can do without. Dirty wet I can do. It's interesting because quite often parents will there's we've had the lawn helicopter parents. Well, there's lawnmower parents now who remove every obstacle from in front of the children so that their children experience no disappointment. And the difference with being with your parents or being with your own children to an educator being with your children is your educator isn't emotionally attached to their experiences, so that an educator is more likely to allow a child to experience these feelings of disappointment and frustration and blah blah blah, because we know the value of children having the full gamut of emotional experience.
Absolutely.
It's not that when we say an educator will allow them to feel disappointment, it's not that we're just going to sit there and let them cry and be upset. It's that we don't cushion them from that process. So if it is in an experience where they have to be brave to hold on to the rope to swing across the clearing, if they can't get that courage up within them, sure as anything, when everybody else has had their turn and they've decided they're not going to do it and it all gets packed away, they're going to feel disappointed.
Regret, disappointment, sadness, and an educator will help them process those emotions and those feelings. Absolutely.
But it's a valuable lesson, and this is what getting children out about, and asking them to push themselves is so vitally important now.
Absolutely. Yeah, you make such a good point. There isn't that investment, that personal relationship, that's a really lovely point. Well done.
Yeah, it's really different. It's really different with your own children. I know I would get frustrated. So frustrated.
It's really easy to switch off. You're not switch off, but to kind of, you're not emotionally attached. You're really not. Yeah.
I had so much more patience for everybody else's children, not my own. I could ask the child 3 times to do something in my daycare. I expect my children to do it after the first time. Like, forget what I'm going to ask you and do it before I ask. Like, come on. Yeah, my own kids, but yeah, it's and this is the value of being with putting your children in care with other people, and it's got to be the right people though. They've got to be people that have the same values.
That's so
and
true. That's crucial. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. And it's just so good for the children's development, I think, to be just being around different people. Like we're saying at the start of this podcast about how these COVID babies, just the same people all the time. They're not getting that sort of fruit salad of life that they deserve. Apples and bananas all the time.
It's so important though, because we have to, that's resilience, being able to manage yourself and contain yourself and hold yourself when you're in a situation where there's people you don't know how to read, and this is why it's important for babies and children to have access to other people other than mum and dad. Like we just be in a community,
and so combining that as well, combining those brand new relationships that they'll be developing with the accessibility of the natural environment. I mean, it's win-win. You're getting to connect with people and you're getting to connect with nature. And I mean, people fundamentally are nature. We are all one symbiotic, biodiverse, crazy mixed up world. We should be out there amongst it, not just stuck on the screen all the time. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Totally agree. And look, as an educator who works with children, or I used to, for me, I always had a better day when I spent more time outside, when we were outside rather than being inside.
You don't have to pack away your room. You don't have to clean up all the toys off the floor. You can leave the trees and sticks and stuff where they lay.
Just dust your hands off, kids. Let's go.
Put your gumboots on the shelf.
There's less programming. There's less arguments to separate. There's less
healthy. It's so healthy. We didn't even talk about that. The vitamin C, the fresh air.
Vitamin D.
The vitamin D. Vitamin C, if you're by the ocean, actually. SEA, that's what I meant. But it's true. We need the vitamin D, and we know that is like a huge part of your health, of your immune system. You need vitamin D.
There was a study that they'd done over in Finland, and when I say they, it's the people who did it, because I can't remember who did it. There was a study over in Finland, and they rewilded the playgrounds within a daycare centre. So prior, it had all concrete and that softball matting and blah, blah, blah. It was very quiet. I mean, it was outside.
To climb.
It was quite sterile. So what they did was they rewilded it, and they had grass and dirt and rocks and plants and all these things, and they encouraged all these bugs and like this whole community, like nature community, started coming back into the kindy. And it wasn't very long that they started to notice that children's health had improved. So they were doing tests, their gut health improved phenomenally, and within a short period of time too.
I bet you their sleep as well.
All the markers had improved, including things like, please don't let that door slam. Sorry, that's my husband, who has ignored that I'm recording a Zoom. You need to go away, thanks. It's all those markers were hitting, and the absences from childcare were less because the children's health was so much better. So getting the children outdoors and active and all that sort of stuff, and just sitting on the ground and eating grass and all these, and gardening and getting dirt under their fingernails, washing their hands, but still that's going in them. It's beneficial.
Absolutely.
It's beneficial long term.
Absolutely. So we need more of that here. I mean, there's a fair bit of it on the Gold Coast. I mean, I can't speak for other places. I mean, I've certainly seen some quite sterile childcare centres and schools on the coast. But I think there is a bit of a shift that's happening. People are starting to really recognise the benefits of that outdoor education, that
Yeah.
nature play, that, you know, integration with the environment. Yeah.
And that leaving the children to it. I think the pendulum really swung like years ago. Like when I was a kid, there was no programming, there was nothing. We were just babysat in a large group scenario playing and, you know, lovely little finger painting crafts and all that sort of stuff. Then it swung too far in the opposite direction, where we had to meet this requirement, that regulation. We have to risk manage everything. You know, a child hurt themselves, we can never let that happen again. And everything became plastic fantastic. And it was
absolutely.
always,
I mean, a risk management for a Band-Aid. I mean, you know, a risk assessment for giving a kid a Band-Aid because they had a blister from running with sneakers, or, you know, come on.
crazy. So I think it's starting to come back this way now.
Yeah.
People are seeing the value in, you know, natural resources and being able to make your own toys and things like that. You know, like we teach a lot of that within our service.
Yes.
We teach a lot of handcrafts and, you know, all those sorts of things. And we encourage that because they're skills that you pass on to the children, you know.
There's
and
a lot of things you can do when you're not in front of a screen. You have a lot more time to do these things.
So many things. So and deeply engaging. Engaging and rewarding, because they actually get to finish something.
Yeah.
You know, and craft is something, handcraft, particularly sewing type crafts and making felt and things like that, are things that can be picked up and put down and picked up and put down and picked up and put down. You know, and some children, you had one of my children that I'd had from 10 months of age. So she was like, even been less than 18 months and was sewing. You know,
she's still so.
Yeah, you know, and so that skill set has been with her. So she may drop that in her teen years, but she'll come back to it at some point and be like,
well, her mum does it now. Wow, doesn't she?
Yeah.
They
she makes that beautiful.
They get to share that beautiful craft together.
Yeah.
You know, what a beautiful bonding thing to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's that connection, and it's so important, and that we have to value that.
So important.
It is so important. I didn't do that on purpose, but you picked up what I was putting down.
Glad.
So funny. But so look, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you, Kat. And if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Well, I can be reached through Gecko's website. It's just www.gecko. Well, hang on, let me bring it up actually. That's my email. It is at just gecko.org.au. That's where there's a list of all of our programs.
Yep. Awesome.
And then my little family daycare is Floresta. It means forest in Portuguese. My partner's forest. It's Floresta FTC family daycare.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do some beautiful things on there. You have a gardening club where you have a friend
every Wednesday
come over. Yeah, it's so cool. And you do these beautiful full moon tea ceremonies.
Yeah, I haven't done one for a little while. Yeah, full moon and new moon tea ceremonies where we get these beautiful teas made from a local lady. Teatopia. Yeah, Bo. Teatopia is where they come from, Bo Wong. And we sit around and we talk about what we're grateful for, and it's just super cute to hear their answers. You know, there is one boy who's really grateful for farts all the time, every time. That's his standard go-to answer, but that's cool. Then we talk about healthy bowel movements, you know. Cool. Some people don't have that, so that's okay. But it's very cute.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Kat. And I'm sure when you finish uni, I'm going to get you back on again, and we're going to delve right into sustainability and how that will look for early childhood education.
Yeah, all this climate stuff. Yeah, we'll get into some childhood politics and
yes, that would be amazing, because you know I don't like to shy away from that stuff.
Yeah,
Let's
I'll be
get in there.
Teaching my kids whether they want to vote Labor, Liberal, Greens, One Nation, whatever.
Yeah. It's all on the table at the moment.
Who knows?
Oh dear.
Who knows? They're free to choose who they like, though. It's up to them. I won't tell them who to vote for.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, Kat. Well, thank you so much, and we will leave it there for today. And look forward to talking with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Victoria.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.